All right. Awesome. Hey guys, thanks for joining us today, wherever you're at. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar, co-hosted by the New York Oracle User Group and Oracle partner, Viscosity North America. We've got an awesome presenter for you today, and I'm very thankful to call him my colleague, Rich Niemiec. So we're excited to have him. It's been a while, and he's got a great presentation for you. This is a live webinar, so feel free to submit questions in the Q&A field. Rich will get to them as he can, most likely following today's webinar. I know he has a lot of content to go through with you. So if you have time to stick around after the hour, it's likely he might have to go over in time. But if you have to drop, don't forget you will have access to the recording through NYOUG and through Viscosity's orapub.com. All right, my name's Monica Lee. I'm the marketing director here at Viscosity. If you're not familiar with Viscosity, we are a full Oracle Stack consulting company. I'll talk a little more about it in a bit, but first, I'm going to hand us over to Coleman from NYOUG, and he's going to tell us a little bit about their user group.
Thank you, Monica. So the New York Oracle Users Group was formed in 1984 for the exchange of ideas, assistance, and support among users of Oracle software products. I'll just say it this way, you can reach out to us on X, formerly Twitter, um, LinkedIn, and of course our website, nyoug.org, where this and the past 4 years of all the presentations that we've been co-hosting Viscosity are online. And there we go, and Facebook and the rest. And we wish to thank again Viscosity for co-hosting these series of webinars with us for 4 years already and going on strong. So we have amazing topics coming up in the future. So stay tuned through the email blast that you'll receive. Thank you, Monica.
Thanks, Coleman. Sorry about that. Not sure what had happened to my slides, but all right. If you are not familiar with Viscosity, I'm going to make this very quick. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me afterwards. So Viscosity is a professional services practice, and these are the three pillars that we focus on. We are primarily an Oracle shop. So data, apps, cloud, anything you see here or across the bottom, we can definitely help your organization. So if you've got any pain points that's reflected on this screen or even beyond, it's totally worth reaching out to us or another partner like us to get some help. Okay, these are some of the books that we have. We probably, from our consultants in management, I think we have over 30 books, professional books. And hopefully some of you guys already own these books, but I just like to point out a couple of them. Oracle Database Performance Tuning right here, Upgrading Oracle Databases. These two we try to update around Oracle Cloud World every year, so in the fall. So look for updates there. These two right now are available on Amazon, and they're for Oracle Database 19c. All right, some of my awesome colleagues here. Hopefully you've seen them live on webinars. You've got their books or their blogs. They're all great technologists, and they're just fabulous to our clients as well. So I do hope you follow them if you don't already. You can see Rich, our speaker, here in the middle. And if you are interested in tons of free resources, I highly recommend checking out Viscosity's new training arm that we acquired back in, I think this is right, 2022. Orapub.com is a place where you can be a free member or you can have paid tiers to get a little extra perks. But free members alone, you can see every webinar recording we've ever done. The slide decks are there. When the guys that I just showed on the last slide are speaking in person and at conferences, we try to grab their slide decks from them too and post them here. There's just tons of stuff. Go check it out. And if you are interested in a paid tier, highly recommend talking to your company to see if they'll reimburse you. There's also corporate discounts if you want to buy multiple memberships. So check that out. And then for more sessions like today, head to events.viscosityna.com or nyoug.org to register for our next webinars. And finally, I just want to point out that Rich, myself, other colleagues of ours will all be at Kscope which is by OD Tug, and it's in Nashville this year. So if you are interested in heading there and seeing a bunch of great content from Oracle PMs, consultants, users like you, people who are just there to really promote knowledge share, check it out. You can get $100 off of your registration with promo code VVIS24. All right, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Coleman to introduce Rich to us. And Rich, I'm going to hand over screen share slides share for you.
Thank you, Monica. So Rich Niemiec is the current Chief Innovation Officer of Viscosity North America. Rich is an Oracle ACE director, a world-renowned IT expert, and was a co-founder of the CEO of Tusk, a Chicago-based systems integrator of Oracle-based business solutions started in 1988, excuse me. Rich has served as president of Rolta Tusk and Rolta EICT. Rich is the past president of the International Oracle Users Group and the current president of the Midwest Oracle Users Group. Rich has architected and tuned many Fortune 500 systems over the past 25 years. His experience in data processing ranges from teaching to consulting, with emphasis in database administration, performance tuning, project management, and technical education. Rich is one of 6 originally honored worldwide Oracle certified masters and advised Oracle development from time to time. In 2017, he authored the Oracle 12C performance tuning tips and techniques, an update of his previous 4 Oracle bestsellers on Oracle 8i, 9i, 10G, and 11i performance tuning. Rich was inducted into the Entrepreneurship Hall of Fame in 1998. Without further ado, I wish to turn the webinar over to Rich. Thank you.
Hey, great to have everyone here. I want to let you know that doing 23C along with AI is very difficult. There are about 2 different 1-hour presentations, but I'm going to show you what's important now, give you exposure to a lot of things. And this is going to give you a chance to know, what do I have to do? What do I need to do? And then what can you do? What great things can you enable? Why did God put you here at this particular time of history? You can also get a copy of these slides, but remember, being an Oracle DBA is easy, like riding a bike, except the bike is on fire. Okay. Sometimes it's a little fast. With AI, I think things have even gotten faster. So prepare yourself by reviewing different things, but know the Oracle. Oracle had 64-bit all the way back in 1995. That means I could have had exabytes of data there. So why do I need exabytes? Because things are huge. They're coming at me very fast. Velocity, value, they have different values. Relational database is fantastic. Different varieties, and most important, more recently, different truths of data. And I don't always want to share everything with a large language model. So Oracle's converged database, it puts relational, JSON, key value, graph, spatial, it's all in there, no extra charge, and added the vector database, also free. What does it do for us? Well, we used to do what's happened, why did it happen, what's happening, what will happen. Now we're looking at prescriptive analytics. What's the best thing that can happen, and how do I do that? Andy Mendelsohn looked at just a couple of things where he talked about the converged database, and it's going to support all is what I just showed you in the converged database, but how to support all these different types of workloads. It's going to make sure it does analytics, machine learning, which is part of AI, autonomous database, and all the converged data and things like that. And the next long-term release, obviously, is 23 AI, which was released just in May. On the cloud side, Oracle was a little bit behind for a while. Then they put Gen 2 Cloud out. Huge growth. Articles like this one, Oracle on the verge of becoming the hottest cloud that's out there. But with a new version, advanced DBA is interested, intermediate DBA, I'll put in a few eggs, but it's the beginner DBA that sometimes makes a few mistakes, so be careful. I'm going to look at a few things in other versions that you should have. I'm not going to cover them, just expose you to them, and maybe you can download the slides and look at them more. But adaptive query optimization, something's using a nested loops. It finds out that, hey, these statistics must not be right, changes it to a hash join on the fly. Great to have. Pluggable databases. Now I could put different applications, ERP, CRM, data warehouse in the same databases where some use memory at some times or disk more or less, and other times they have it. They don't, and I can use it on a different application. But Oracle has given us 3 PDBs as they get rid of it in 23C. You can query PDBs very easily, select from $V PDBs, just what you think it would be. It's having a little bit of a problem. Go to the next slide. I did apologize for the speed. I want to go faster, but pluggable databases, remember when you use Oracle Autonomous Database, it is a pluggable database. I'm going to see if try that again. Sorry, I am frozen. Can you guys still hear me, Monica Coleman?
Yes, I
I
can
can hear
still.
you, yes.
Okay,
Oh,
just
and the
won't change
slides
the
just
slide for
changed
some
too.
reason. Okay, good to hear. Another thing that came out was InMemory. And they also gave you 16 gig at no charge. So you definitely want to try this out and they're going to advance it more. So not only can I look at stuff at the row level, buffer cache, but I can also now look at the column to do summaries of things and do things that analytics are very keen on. And all I have to do is add the word in memory. And then it will look at the execution plan and also show me that I have that. Looked at a few of the 12C. I'm going to move ahead. This we didn't see well, but 3 PDBs are included and de-supporting non-CDB architecture. So you have to use multi-tenant from 21C and on, obviously with the new version. Showed how to see the PDBs. This is where I think we got hung up. But some of the things to know is that I can do a hot clone and a PDB refresh. So as data changes in one places, I could build clones and snap clones so that other people can use that, maybe for data warehouse operations or for somewhere else. Can also relocate something from the cloud and then back again if I want. There's a flashback of a pluggable database, something similar you've seen before. Then there's in-memory at the base level. And this costs money if you use it, but you can use up to 16 gig at no extra cost as of 19.8. In-memory gives me row and column level transactions both, and you'll see where Oracle is going to query that in the future. That's why I showed you. Here's the example of how to set something to be in memory or create a table within memory. Then I needed to get into memory at least once, and you'll see Oracle also has a way to populate and evict it as well. When I do an execution plan, it will also let me know I'm using it. Another great feature was moving things online so you keep the database up. I'm giving you a lot of things that will help you in the future. Maybe they're must-have things. It's also big data SQL to go to things like big data and external tables, which I can look at those data stores in different ways. I could also put in memory and I can partition them now. So Oracle is putting stuff outside the database to other data sources to make them faster, and that's going to help you. So are you using those great features? In 18C, they changed the naming conversion, but now I can do a pluggable database, get a master, and have one for every day of the week, and take snap clones of that as well from a full clone. And this just shows where those files are physically located if you do that. I can also do a per PDB switch over. So maybe I have something in the cloud or I have something local, and then I can move it over and switch and go the opposite direction. And here's the simple command there at the bottom, alter pluggable database, and do the switch over. In-memory external tables, all great things that you're going to use more as you go into 23C. And there's also, this is the approximate features I was letting you know existed, and it saves you temp and sort. That's going to make your cloud less expensive by saving you all of that. So are you using some of those that came out in 18C? Wasn't a real feature-rich database. You could also go to live.sql.oracle.com if you're not on 19C, but you should. could access the Oracle docs, go to database features, and see individual features and what they do. And notice it's showing me what version it's in, where it came out. Very, very helpful. Some things are deprecated. It'll show if it's been deprecated. I can also access things to look at. I'm looking here at long data. There's the deprecate. Sorry about that. I could also look at how Oracle looks at this, the SGA or the shared pool, and learn more about it if I'm a beginner DBA. How do these various pieces work, moving things in and out of memory? And the best thing I think for 19C is that I got 3 pluggable databases, so I could at least do multi-tenant and get used to how that is and know how to do it. 19C, the version you should at least be on 19C, has automatic indexing, identifies, verifies, decides whether it should do it. I could either do it reporting or I can implement it. This shows me how I can do report only to see if it would have worked, and it does it by creating invisible indexes, or implement those invisible indexes. And you could see as it looked through things, it had 53 index candidates and it created 12. Things were 3 times faster, and it cost me 3.5 meg roughly of space. I could also use hints with automatic indexing to turn them off or turn them on for specific queries. Oracle also added quarantine in 19C, very good. And we're going to see kind of an evolution of this in 23C, where it quarantines an execution plan, but not necessarily a SQL statement. So it tells it has to take a different route. Wooly Hardy showed how, on my active standby, now I can do a DML. Well, how do I do it? Well, I actually access the DML, it sends it to the primary, and then it's put over through DataGuard to the standby, and then I can see it there. But now I can do a DML from the standby. But it kind of does it in a long roundabout way. Are you using things like InMemory? JSON object mapping. You're going to see Oracle doing more JSON when I get to 23C. This is Jenny's slide where she taught Jenny Chow Smith, who runs the database, main product manager for it, performance, high availability, application development, security. You can see the things that were important to her. Now, keep in mind things like 18C, where innovation releases only lasted 2 years of premier support, and then they go away. The long-term release lasts 5 years. You'll see a little bit of a change in that later. And this is what it was. There was never a 22C. It just went from 21C to 23. You're going to see it went from 23C to 23 AI. And this timeline is going to change a little for 23, and I'll give you the latest one shortly. So you can see some of the things that came out in 21C, JavaScript in database, auto machine learning, more with JSON. You want to use SQL, you want to use JSON, you want to use JavaScript, whatever you want to use, Java, Oracle's putting it in there, and some other things. But AutoML and machine learning, I did a notebook, which is a series of using algorithms to do some kind of function. Maybe I wanted to cluster age groups of big data. And it took me a while, maybe a day or two. I did it with AutoML. It took 4 minutes, and it picked the same algorithm. But basically, it selects it, features, automatically tunes it for you. You'll see that more in the future. Oracle also added data safe. I can look at security overall for the system, or individual users, or individual pieces of data. So a very nice, and this is an autonomous database where I was using it just to show you a little example of how that looks. But I think the big features are here: in-memory spatial and text. If you use in-memory spatial or text, in-memory vector joins. This is not a vector embedding. Keep that in mind. In-memory hybrid scan, so I could look at the column store and the buffer cache. And then self-managing in-memory. I said you have to populate it, and it has to evict from time to time. We're going to show you how it can automatically do that for you. They also added no forced upgrade, or they forced you to go to case sensitive, but it's not forced really, because it will retain in a password file previously. And notice you can click the copy button and it'll copy that statement as well. They also added native blockchains, where you want transactions where you can only append, you can't change it. And then some of the other features for Apex, you see dark mode, and great way to upload documents or data into the autonomous database. And you can see some new machine learning algorithms as well. 21C, I go in there, it gives you a description of hybrid in-memory, so you know how to do it. Tells you about automatic in-memory management, where it has a hot and cold end of that and how it can populate and evict based on how much you're using it. And then in 21C, they added 16 gig column store at no cost. You should try this. You'll see how good it is. And they backported it to 19.8. Table space encryption, making sure things are secure. And different management features like data pump, where I can include, exclude objects, resumable transportable table space, things like that. There's also an auto database upgrade where I can do one or more databases with a single command. Bijou had this tweet where he said, hey, all these nice features, I have to be on Exadata or on Oracle Cloud. Not surprised. So you can access the docs here. Go to database. I'm looking at database in memory base level, and it tells me I could use 16 gig, and that came out in 21C, although now it's backported to 19.8. There's just a little more on that. In database JavaScript, if you want to know more about it, but I did want to say in 23C, it also allows you to create stored procedures using JavaScript in the database as well. Very helpful. Binary JSON data type. Oracle, when they built autonomous database, they saw that Mongo and Amazon were competing over who's faster. Then Oracle tried it. Theirs was twice as fast and half the cost. Now, the better you know Oracle, you know all those features underneath that are making it fast. Also, multi-tenant data guard, where I can do a pluggable database only, where I can do that. In 23C, read-only per PDB standbys with data guard. So as you can see, why I showed you pluggable databases early on is that it progressed to making it better, better, better. I also have gradual passover rollover. This was Jenny Sausba's favorite feature in 21C, where she said, where you can set a password and there's a certain amount of time where people learn that password. And then here's some other things in 21C that are out there. Now, as you go to 23, you have to go from either 19 or 21C. There's no other way to get there. And the timeline you really want to see, which is that timeline that shows all the different things that are out there, like 19C, and how it was extended, the waived extended, and then it was extended to 2027. The update support almost to 2030 for 19C. So a very steady version there, but I really believe you need to get to 23 AI because of some of the things that can really impact that business. And that'll take you out to 2032. So if you're looking to retire in 2032, there you go. You only have to learn one more version of the database. 23A, right now, you can try it. Oracle Database free, Oracle Autonomous free. Live labs are very good for learning different features. I highly, highly recommend those. This is some of the availability in different places, either on the cloud. They also have an Azure for developers, on premise, in different ways. Other ones are coming, they say, in June, most of them. But 21C had about 200 plus features, 23AI, 300 plus features. Here's kind of a list of them. Most of these I'll go through. JSON Relational Duality. So I could use JSON or relational and create this, insert things with JSON, look at them in relational, insert things with relational, look at them with JSON if I want to. Some microservices support, also operational property graph. I won't show a lot with JSON Reality and operational property graph, just exposure to it. There's full 1 hour talks on just those subjects. And then many data type improvements, and we'll see some of those. So JSON, I create or replace this JSON Relational Duality view and I create it. And now I can select in it, let's say with relational on the right, and then I could insert values with JSON. And then I could select back with relational again. So I can mix and match these two. Very, very good. Highly recommend that. Jeff Smith has blogs on this as well. There's some restrictions. Oh, I guess there's a lot of restrictions for it. So keep that in mind. I just put them in here so you can take a look at it if that's important to you. Operational property graphs. Maybe I want to start to look at different people together. What are the relationships between customer accounts and which are the vertices, and then cash transfers, which are these edges. And if I look at creating a property graph, I have those maybe bank accounts and then those edge tables, money transfers. Then I could write SQL to find things out. And this is just FYI, this is how you drop one. But to look at these different ways, I could also go to visualize this in Oracle's visualizing product, and I can see things to see where the transfers are going between people. So maybe B and E, no money gets transferred there, but it goes a different route to get to E eventually. Some other nice features, I'm going to look at these individually. So I'm going to go past this one. But update tables in a direct join. So now I can update up, but do a direct join where I'm going to department as well. Very, very helpful. Select from dual without saying from dual. Select sysdate, select a number, select a function. My favorite, maybe my favorite little thing anyway. Group by, I can now use an alias. Fantastic. Also use it in having. Used to get an error for that, not a group by expression. Group by position. If you never say group by one and you see people that do it, you do have to alter the session to enable it. And then you could say group by, in this case, category ID is one. After you set that, you only have to set it once. So better SQL than anyone else. You could see all the different things that Oracle has put in here, from PL SQL to Flashback to result cache to different analytical views and so on. There's also SQL domains I'm going to look at. So I have a varchar or a number data type. Now I could have zip, email, social security number. I could also, if I use Kafka, I talked about fast stuff like, Twitter or something like that coming. I also have escrow locking. And this is just a way I can use Kafka directly with Oracle, by the way. I have something called lock-free column reservations. We'll look at this in detail. Some people call it escrow locking. So let's look at domains. So I can create hourly wages and then put a check constraint in there and say they have to be at least $7 an hour, but don't make it over $1,000 an hour. So if you're the DBA, you can set yours to $999.99, right? And then I can create a table, and now I just wage is a number, but the domain I'm using is hourly wages, and it will use what I built here. And then I can go to another table, use that hourly wages domain again. Here's an example of creating your own domain for email, for example. And then I can also add a different check constraint in there as well. Here's an example of doing a day of the week, but what I really have is Oracle has built domains for me. So I can do a data type and it's just email, or short name for day, or long name for day, month short, month long, social security number, credit card number. So all these things are built-in domains that I now have, phone number, and so on. Built-in domains, very helpful, so you don't have to put all that information in every time you create a table. The next one is a really great one for stopping different bottlenecks that could happen. It's called column value reservation. So I want to make sure let's say you and your wife are pulling funds out of your bank account. Well, it'll enable you to both do it concurrently, because if she's taking out $50 and you're taking out $25, it'll just reserve those. And as long as you have $75, no problem. So it'll let you do those concurrently without being blocked by the other one. So it doesn't do a lock in the same way. And I'm just going to show you how it does it. And here's some reasons why it does it, but also the main example: alter table, add a balance number, reservable constraint, minimum balance has to be over 50. So I basically could do as many transactions if I want. If I have $1,000, she can do 950 and I can still do 50. Oh, no, it didn't work. The balance has to be over 50. So in that case, it would not work. And here's just some examples of it, how I use the reservable. I can make it not reservable. I can also alter it to not reservable. And this is conventional locking and how it works currently and all the stuff you have to do and how it does that select for update. And then this is what the actual text for building that if I wanted to do one. And then here's using lock-free reservation, where I do it and it just reserves the amount. And as long as I'm not violating the constraint, I can do it. And here's an example of the text. So very, very nice. This often happens in Sagas. So I want to book a trip and maybe I have a flight, hotel, and car, and I don't want any of them to work unless all of them work. So I want to be able to reserve different things there during this saga of things I need to do. So it'll enable those concurrent transactions to be proceeded with. It'll continue to go. Maybe I have a certain number of items in stock. And if I have 1,000 of them, well, somebody wants 5 and somebody else wants 10, these things are still okay because I know I still have 1,000. Very, very nice feature, True Cache. This helps me at the edge cache, helps me at regional cache or multi-cloud cache, and it keeps everything consistent, even though they're in different places. We'll see how to do that. We also have sharding enhancements that help us with a globally distributed database where I need to have data sovereignty in certain places and the data resides in a certain place. And then there's also priority transactions. I don't want somebody to block another one. Now we saw with the reservable, I can reserve a certain amount, but you can also out and out say this is a priority transaction that I want to execute no matter what. Maybe it's the nightly report of some kind. But in True Cache, what am I actually doing? Well, first of all, any read can happen from True Cache or from the database, different True Cache. But all database changes will also make it to, let's say these two app servers, they have their True Cache here. If they commit something, it goes to the database and it goes to the True Cache always. And the same with these two app servers. So it builds a True Cache at the app server level that stays in sync with the server. And anytime something changes that's in the True Cache, it will also commit it to the True Cache as well until before that transaction is committed. You can also update instances of a database and do a rolling update in a rolling fashion. You used to only be able to put one instance on a given database in the same server. Now I could do that with 2. So do it with mostly small companies. But the big one is no more Aura 600s maybe. Oracle will try to fix the Aura 600 and go a different execution path. Very similar to quarantine in a way. It's also read-only PDB standbys, as I talked about earlier. But the SQL plan, I have some critical SQL error. Instead of giving you an Aura 600, it will try a different execution path called Auto SQL Repair. Also, it will detect and repair SQL when I'm starting to have performance regressions that it notices using AI in the database. And it also can detect things at parse time or at initial execution. Schema level privileges. These are fantastic. And developer role are fantastic. We'll see them in a minute. TLS 1.3 support, if that's important to you. Also Azure. But schema level privileges, instead of granting all these privileges to somebody, to Bob in this case, grant select on any table to Bob from that schema, from the TPC-like schema to Bob. One command to grant them all. Also, I want to grant a developer role to a username. You can see all the different privileges that are granted automatically if I want to do that. So I'll make it very simple instead of these long scripts that we have granting, 24 privileges. Oracle also supports passwords up to 1,000, used to be 30. And Azure Active Directory is integrated. So if you use that, they have a lot of things. It authenticates between Azure and Oracle databases in the Oracle Cloud. Improved materialized views are much faster using AI in the database. Improved machine learning algorithms, and then up to 4,000 columns per table. And this just shows a little bit more on that. So it's normally 1,000. Now it goes to 4096. Compatibility must be 23 or higher. AutoML, you could see, tracks what people are using. As I said this earlier, it's very fast. So it'll do the selection, adaptive sampling, auto feature selection, auto model tuning, everything you're doing as you're using some algorithm to do something. But it also, using Analytics Cloud, will show you the path it took to come to the decision it did based on things like biases, and you want to check into that. But the real big announcement was Gen AI and all the things that happened with Gen AI recently. And Larry Ellison at last year's Cloud World, late last year, said, you know, is it the most important thing ever? You're about to find out because people spent billions. Developed by different companies. OpenAI, Elon Musk built ChatGPT rather. Now they have these highly artificial neural networks where they look through language. So it's one of the algorithms out of maybe 30 that Oracle uses. You could really build a large language model if you really want to, but you don't have to. But it's trained on language and how it works. But the baby talks now with 3.5. When they put a chat front end, that's when it really took off. And you could see how many months it took for 100 million users to hit things, only 2 months for ChatGPT. And also with GPT-4, now I can do multimodal. So I could do text, I could do videos, I could do images. So multiple different types. But generative AI, databases have factual stuff. You may be used to that. Whereas GPT, notice GPT, generative pre-trained transformer. So it's something that was trained on all this language, but it also is generative, so it could give you a hallucination. It could say, Rich Niemiec, yeah, he was in New York. He started right on time and great talk. No, not this time. Large language models are trained, Wikipedia, the internet, all that stuff, but you could interface it with your own data using retrieval augmented generation, where your data is protected, but it still uses the pieces that are helpful to you. You can use it. What does this actually do? Well, a large language model literally takes that word and it turns it into numbers or a vector embedding. So it's a vector in multi-dimensional space and it's embedded. And then it searches and it looks for the semantic meaning of the word, not the actual words, not the actual image, but what is the vector of that? What is that picture describing? And the answer is in numbers. And then when you find the answer, then you want to turn it back into words, and you might use that large language model also. And we'll see some examples of some. But ChatGPT is really a foundation model for language. That means all the pieces that make up language and how I can fix that. And it was built using this transformer model we'll see in a second. But GPT-4, over 1 trillion parameters. Sometimes you do not want to use these very large models. You want something much faster that does something much simpler or something in a certain sector, not necessarily everything on the internet. But ChatGPT came out November 30th, 2022. You could see once I go into it, I can do a ChatGPT, what are the top 10 databases? And this is the list it gave me. But notice, as of 2021, so it doesn't have the up-to-date ones. Also has images. Also just added Sora that allows me to put text and it will create a video for me. Google's Bard, which is now Gemini, another chat GPT I can use. What are the top 10 databases? Notice, as of the cutoff today, hey, so it gives me the up-to-date information, was very helpful. And They have things like Gemini 1.5, which is way too many parameters, but you also have 1.0, which is Flash. The Flash version is very good. They also have something called Vertex AI, which kind of pulls all that together that Oracle also goes to. The transformer paper that really changed everything, an acceleration of things. Aidan Gomez was one of the people that did this. You'll see that he was the one of the co-partners that started Cohere. But basically, it goes through this in parallel, different pieces of things where I put the input in and I encode it. I have several slides. If you go to the New York Oracle user group, we actually covered this in more detail in my last presentation on AI. But the Oracle Vector Database, Larry's talking about, do we really need multi-billion parameter OpenAI, Cohere XAI? Oracle doesn't need that, but we're going to use those. We're going to interface with all of them. And they ingest all these trillions of data training elements. Oracle Cloud, you want to use it to train your model, you can do that. 16,000 nodes. You can move unbelievable, I think it was over a terabyte a second. Oracle Vector Database, it's showing you also if I want to store something as a vector so that I can search it, Oracle is letting you take it, and we're going to see an example where I can store that vectorized part inside the database so your information is protected. Retrieval augmented generation. So augment it with my data, but don't share my data. And he talked about how they're using this in some ways in the Cerner acquisition for medical data. But here's kind of a short answer. I have a cat here, and this second image you don't see, but it's another cat. And there's an image below it, which is a dog that is in a different part of space, way down over here, but slightly below. And the cats kind of end up together because semantically, when it looks at this image and looks at the mathematical representation of everything using a neural network, a very large one at that, it knows they go together in the same space. This may be a little bit better picture. Well, all the animals are ending up in one space. So let's look at some three-dimensional space, for example. And the food ends up on the right dimension, on the x-axis, we'll call it. And then you can see in the z-axis, maybe I have cars or something like that. But notice Apple Computer, because it also is about the app, you'll probably see some of it in this other dimension. And the cats are not necessarily close to the roosters, and the cat image is near a cat document, is near a cat video. So those are all together as well. So what do I do for, oh, there's the picture. Hey, at least I have this one. See, when I made it a PDF, I don't have the animations. So I apologize for that. But here's two cats. Notice they're together, but the dog's over here. And something I should have said here is when it builds the embedding for this, okay, turn this cat image into a vector, you can see what it looks like below there. So here's a vector embedding of the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. And notice the embedding is in 35 dimensions. It has pieces. I'll go back here. So I encode that. So that sentence that I just had about a dog, it's going to end up somewhere in this part of the space. So vectorizing, grouping things together in very complex space. And notice, now let's say I'm going to look for something about a cat. Maybe all of them are here, or similar animals that are similar might be all in the same place. And the way it finds those images, something called approximate nearest neighbor, where maybe I'm here in this multi-dimensional space and I need to get to here for that query. It'll go through this hierarchical navigable search where it'll go, how do I get there? Well, if I enter here, I go here, then I go here, go down, and then I eventually get very near to that answer in what's in the space. Also, a reason why you can get hallucinations is that, these are just numbering things in different dimensions. But now let's take it one step back. I could take an image, document, video, but just builds a vector. And you can see this 5-dimensional space, builds some vector, but it's a sequence of numbers. They're dimensions. You think of 3-dimensional space, but this is like Rod Serling. We're heading into this other dimension. Somebody told me don't get over 1,000 dimensions. It gets too slow. So hopefully I don't. Vectors are the semantic content. So previously with neural networks, if I wanted to see if this is a cat or not, I showed it pictures of cats and it looked at the pixels to look for eyes, nose, ears, things like this. This, I'm just building something using the transformer model to build this numeric representation for it, mathematical. And then I say, is it near the other point? So I actually look at the vector distance. Give me the top 10 cats that are near this cat, and it will look at it mathematically in that space. And Oracle also has an index, not only that HNSW index we talked about a minute ago, but also has partition index as well. So here's an Oracle example. We have different features of a house. Let's put these as vectorized. It's just a way to look at type of roof decoration, number of stories built. So this may be what it sees in this house, and then says, find me a house like it. And you go, whoa, I found these are not nearby. So let me build a little house app where I can look at what's similar to yours. I can do this similarity search, whether it's a document, whether it's a video, whether it's an image. And then I'm going to create a table. I'm going to have a blob of that image of the house, and I'm going to create a vector for that house. So I have to build a vector embedding, and I use some of these other products like OpenAI or Cohere or Gemini to build that embedding. But once I have that and I take my data from my database and start vectorizing it all, I can now go to it and order by the vector distance, or I can say find the top 5. But I can additionally say, how about the price in the city, like normal queries? So I'm connecting the relational things I can do that are very powerful with the business data, but also using that vector embedding to find similarity searches as well. So basically, take all that business data in all these different ways Oracle allows you to do it, and then vectorize and see which ones you need to vectorize in your database so you could find something or build something great for your potential customers. You know, taking that semantic image, but then adding what city is it and how much is it. Then if I update vectors or delete vectors, guess what? They're there automatically. I don't have to do anything new to it. As I add and delete information, it'll be in the app. Oh, new house just came in. I like this one from Maria Colgan. This comes from the Viscosity expert panel. You can get that. Just go to our website and click on it. But the vector database augments generative AI by retrieving detailed, often private information. So you want your business data to stay private. But by vectorizing some of those things, now I can look outside using an LLM to see what it is. So basically, a user question, it's in words, right? So now let's vectorize it. Now it's what it's going to be. It's going to be in numbers, some vector, certain number of dimensions. Then I can use that vector to now go search my own content. And there's different ways to break up your content into maybe paragraphs or things like that and vectorize it all. Then it matches the vectors of that. Then the content could go to the Gen AI to help answer the question. And I can use the Gen AI to help, or I can use what I found here to give a better question back to the large language model. I talked about Cohere a minute ago, but Aidan Gomez, who worked on that paper on transformers, that's what made generative AI very fast. But Cohere LLM turns words into numbers, vectors. Vector embeddings is what it's called. Some of the challenges, though, it makes up stuff. I go out, did Rich speak at New York Oracle user group? And they say, yes, Rich went to New York on such and such a day, or he should have went to New York, then everything would have worked. Then retrieval augmented generation, though, is how to ground the answers. So you don't let these made up facts happen. So if Monica has in her database, well, Rich did a virtual presentation, and I go to that retrieval augmented generation, I can now ground the answer to be correct. Web LLMs can also use your data with retrieval augmented generation, as I'm saying. I use something called the vector database to store those embeddings. Now, most of them cost money, but Oracle made theirs free, just to let you know. And then Cohere does things very fast and very accurately. How do I put all this together when I'm going to multiple pieces for things? Well, something called LangChain, which does work with Oracle. They have a very good article at Oracle AI Vector, how to generate embeddings with LangChain. But I say, what's a neural network? Then it says, embed the question, first of all, turn into numbers, vector embedding, then do a semantic search. And I go to my vector database, and you know what somebody did? Somebody chunked all the text maybe into paragraphs and built embeddings to find out which piece maybe you're looking for, and then rank the results of what they're probably looking for to this answer. And then use the large language model again to turn that back from numbers back into English to give them an answer. That's kind of a long way of how you look at it. But LangChain, I could put 20 things together. I could put 50 things together as I'm building this. And Oracle works with it as well. But Larry put it this way. And then the moment they announced it was free with the Oracle database, I actually sent that out. But all those different images, videos, encode it, look for similar ones, and what are the matches? And this is in 23 AI, and this is the exact version of it. I have it running locally. That might be slowing down my system. Who knows? But the world of LLMs and some of the add-on models, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Cohere, MetaLlama has very good, as far as how licensing goes, is very good. And that's why people like that one. XAI Grok. This is Elon Musk's NVIDIA Llama Chat Queue. It took the Llama model and they put a chat on the front end of it. Very popular. But I use something called DBMS Vector to put in embeddings, and also move it back to text. Vector chunks to process those documents to use certain size pieces. I don't want to use a massive document. I want to piece it into maybe sections. Something called Open Neural Network Exchange is a way you can try this out as well. Without sharing any of your information. But basically, you could verbally ask it or type, find houses with 3 bedrooms and a sauna, does a vector embedding for the question, then searches that vector database, comes back with it, and then it has to turn that back into the actual model. Or I could just show what I have from the database. Here's just some commands. Create a table. The key one is to have a vector data type. And SQL syntax. I'm looking for the vector distance. Is my picture of a cat near the picture I'm looking for? Give me the top 10 for this type of cat. And then I can also create a vector index. Now the HNSW one has to be in memory, just to keep in mind. That's why you might want that partition one as well. Here's just some examples on how I can look, select, fetch the first 5 rows, subquery, select for a specific vector in a data set for the 5 nearest neighbors, 5 photos similar to the one I show you, but also add certain date and so on. Some of the currently supported LLMs or large language models that have done this with the internet and all this data, generative AI, Google AI, OpenAI, Vertex AI is Google. Hugging Face is actually one that has multiple ones. But then look at DBMS Vector. What do? This is where I say, break it into pieces and then embed it. And then the one above that, convert it to embeddings, UTL-2 embeddings. So this is how you physically do it. And here's an example of how to set up REST calls, go into different ones. And then I have to actually call DBMS Vector to do the embedding itself. And each one is a little bit different. Cohere, Google, Hugging Face, as far as the credentials and how, the format that you have to have. I have examples here. But if you go to Hugging Face, it gives you the top models. You know, what are people using right now? What's a big one? A big one, MetaLlama, but also MetaLlama 3 with 8 billion, and one that's just Instruct. And you can see that one's a little bit larger than this one. So different size, different number of tokens. You don't always want a big one, especially when you're training and testing these Start with a small one first. Here's an example of creating a search with a vector index. As I talked about, it has to be in memory, HNSW, but I could also do a vector index or partition index. And here's checks the vector distance by cosine. So the angle between the vector that I'm looking for and from the other vector. So the distance between those is an example of cosine. If I do an explain plan, it'll actually tell me I'm using that index. So a lot of what you've learned in Oracle is the same. And then there's different ways to look at, I could look at it for Euclidean distance away, or it could be the angle difference. There's a few others, and for different types of data, different things are better or worse. You can see all the different functions and packages that are out there. And the key ones, turn things into embeddings, turn them back into text, turn documents into chunks or pieces. And there's an example of importing the Onyx model into the Oracle database so that I have one. So Gen AI is putting both AI and machine learning together. So I can use algorithms. We'll see that in a second. I can also take a vector search and combine it with the business data, not just the internet and all those things. I can ground that by what's in my database. And I do that with retrieval augmented generation. I could also augment it with private business data of different types without sharing it back to the internet with retrieval augmented generation. You can also use Golden Gate and move vectors around in different places. I'll show you that in a minute. Exadata obviously does a lot of AI. They use AI in Exadata itself and some more there. But on the left here are the LLM models, and then all the things I can do in my database, all the different products I can use to enable that. Very helpful. But I also have things in OCI like digital assistant, speech to text, text to speech, all kinds of images, do things with images, built-in things that Oracle's already built for you. Make sure you leverage those. If you want to know more about it, a lot of the examples come from AI vector search. If you click on that, and you can see 23 is now, if you looked at this the day before Oracle's announcements, 23C, the day after was 23 AI, and it all changed. Then here's just lastly, I have a few things on 23C before I show you a couple other things, but some other 23C things that are nice. 23 AI, I got to correct myself. Here's an explain plan I'm doing. And just to give you an example, this is if I don't have a function-based indexes, I've now gotten rid of the index here. It can't use the index. And what does it tell me now in the explain plan? It tells you have a problem here. Consider rewriting this predicate. You're suppressing that index. Now, it would have been nice if it said build a function-based index. Some other features, just FYI, drop or create table if exists, create table if not exists. Nice. Drop table if exists. So I don't get an error, just moves on. And maybe one of my favorites are the improved error message. So not a group by expression, but it gives me specifically the problem that I'm having with this group by. Or it doesn't say invalid number, it's unable to convert this value. It gives you a specific answer that's much better than the old ones. Another feature I don't have time to cover, but Flashback Time Travel, I just put in as an FYI. We have a lot of examples of this. So I'm going to track and store stuff over a lifetime of something, whatever it is. Maybe you have to keep data for 10 years, and you'll see an example of that. But you're going to enable tracking of all the changes that are happening. Then you can look at as of a certain version to see it. And you're going to see some examples of setting space and retention period for this archive. So create a flashback archive, table space, retention 10 years. Well, once something's over 10 years old, it gets purged automatically. You don't have to worry about it for this tax data. Some restrictions on it, just real quick. Then some common commands for it, where I can do a flashback archive, FLA1, no flashback archive to disable it, setting all kinds of quotas. Give you a lot of examples there if you want to download that. And then I could also go back to that historical information. How do I retrieve something back from that archive? And then there's also grants for Flashback Archive you need. And with virtual private database, you've got to be careful at some things. I just put a note there in case you use it. People get very frustrated with machines and they need Flashback. Oracle also, unlike most databases, in my opinion, have ACID properties in the database. So ACID is atomicity. C is consistency. I is isolation. D is durability. And you can see what all these things happen. Very few databases that are being created have all that. We really doesn't need to be exactly consistent. It'll be eventually consistent. But you could actually even change oracles if you wanted. I could change the isolation level to be different, where certain things are possible or not possible, depending on what I set the isolation to. So you could change Oracle as well, but it's an advantage to have truly consistent atomicity, durability, isolation. Which one did I miss? Atomicity, consistency, isolation, durability. Some other features that are out there. There's a few more. Some dual initialization parameters in 23 AI. Some deprecated, desupported ones. And then Golden Gate I talked about. One big thing that happened a while ago, maybe a year ago, Oracle gave you up to 20 gig of Golden Gate just to play with it and try it out or use it. Now with 23 AI, it is a key thing that helps me move vectorized data around between different places. And notice I could replicate this vector across many databases if I wanted. So you got to watch out for security, but a very powerful tool, just got more powerful because now I could use vectorized information as well. Database security, 23i, in-database firewall, blocks unauthorized SQL injection attacks automatically. So if I look at things, Oracle also has RAF-based replication, real-time SQL plan management, True Cache and database firewall. We've seen a few of the others. Whether you want to use JSON, or whether you want to use JavaScript, graphs, whatever it is, Oracle is building a database that does all of them. So is the DBA going to be gone? Well, with all these new features, who's going to put them in? Who's going to make sure they're utilized? What do I have? Autonomous database, self-securing, self-managing, self-repairing. Puts the patch on before you even know it needed a patch. It's going to take my job away. Of course not. Some things are obsolete. Maybe you can manage more databases. Maybe some databases you don't have to manage as much and they could be autonomous. Take a look at those. But who makes sure it's tuned? All these different things you can do to make things faster. In-memory, partitioning, all the things with the way I can move PDBs around to make things work faster. Somebody's got to put all those things in place, and it's a DBA. Autonomous database, how long does it take to provision one? 2 minutes. Autonomous data warehouse, that was autonomous transaction processing. Autonomous data warehouse, columnar storage. So I might do a lot of analytics in this type. 1 minute and 20 seconds only. So it's not going to take a lot of time, but leverage your autonomous database to do some of these things for you. Also within autonomous database is machine learning for free. Just to let you know, these are just different notebooks using different types of algorithms, maybe clustering data into age groups, big data. And I can do that in Python. I can do that in R, OML for R, OML for Python, OML for SQL. So I show you whichever way you want to do it. Oracle does it all those different ways. And this we saw at the last New York Oracle user group, as I mentioned earlier. We showed you some of the machine learning there and how really I just need to know which algorithm I want to use, train a model, and then use a model. So I have an algorithm, in this case, doing a decision tree where it goes through all the different possible choices that could happen. And then from there, after I've trained it, maybe with 60% of my data, are they going to buy this Chicago Bears logo credit card? Then I could do a prediction. Some data I take through and I see if it's right on 40% of the data. Then I use it outside, maybe on some big data. And then I find out, nobody wanted to buy this, probably because his presentation kept crashing or something like that. Couldn't get the PDF up on the screen. Eventually did. Oh, they're from New York. Should have added some more terms and I would have known why they don't want that credit card. Okay. So what am I doing with machine learning? Well, first of all, let's start with a large language model. Text mining support. This is the piece that you have now. Explicit semantic analysis. You could look for document or word similarities. Now they've just turned it into numbers with transformers. But you have all these other algorithms. Are you using them? Classification, different ways to classify data, maybe into good and bad customers. And then maybe I have attribute important. What attributes make up a good or bad customer? And then maybe go to cluster. Oh, now that I know what makes up a good customer, go find me more in big data. It's a certain age group, maybe. Or I want to take those good customers and say, what are they buying together a priori? And can I market that through a chatbot to other people? Can I use regression to see where my data is going? And oh, by the way, it might not be linear. It might be something more like a sine wave. And then time series. Maybe I want to look at the stock market and see where it's going. Good luck with that. So Oracle has machine learning, all these things, whereas LLMs like ChatGPT from OpenAI or Gemini or whatever you want to use, they're just for language at this point. Now they could turn video into text. They become multimodal. And this is from Juan Loaiza's talk, and there was a few other from there, but he showed the most recent ones that are out there. So I thought I'd add that on. One thing I had to show with this talk is an incredible new product that Oracle has. And all it is DBMS Cloud AI packages. All I need to do to put this in there and allows me to use natural language to talk to my database about things. Hey, select AI. I don't select AI. Select AI. What are our top 10 stream movies? And what is it doing? It's taking what you wrote here, looking at the schema, what do you have access to and everything else, and then it builds a query from that. So if I look at an example, and this, go to Autonomous DB Speaks Human by Marty Gubart, very amazing, and this is an autonomous database. Select AI, what are our top stream movies? And I'm like, wow, how did they come up with that? You could say, select AI, show the sequel. Maybe you want to put that in a script somewhere. And they came up with something called ChatDB, which they put using Apex, where I can ask the question and I can show it there as well. And it uses all your Oracle security and things like that. Amazing product. Definitely want to see this. Then Exadata. What am I getting that's different from other things? Multi-tenant, in-memory database, real rack, active data guard, partitioning, advanced compression. All these things are making your cloud cost less a lot of times, keeping it available and recoverable, but also things like in-memory, offloading SQL to storage, does things in memory there. Well, guess what? With 24 AI, it also offloads some of that to the storage servers for the vector searches, transparently offloading. And it's an Exadata 24 AI software. We also have all the things like parallel SQL, security, DR, 23C, very big. It's easy for me to say a little bit later. And thanks for you that did today. You can see all the things that are there, but we're going into a different time now where things are going faster. Why are they going faster? Well, when the internet came, we went from 16-bit to 32-bit, and the amount of memory you could directly address in memory went from 64K to 4 gig. And we felt it because we got the internet. It was like going at 65,000 times faster. Now we're going 300 trillion times faster as we go into 64-bit. And you're getting things like robotics and things like that. It used to be all about tech. 2013, what was coming? Cloud computing. Down here is about 5% of the people are using it. To the far right, 30%. Up the hill, nobody is using it. No working products yet on big data in 2013. And all of a sudden in 2018, there was a lot about robotics and AI creating this new reality. If I could just put robotics together with AI, together with even quantum computing, it's going to do things. But also, hackers start using things like machine learning to get into things. So your security has to be much better before that, because of that. Hey Siri, why don't my relationships work out? This is Alexa. So, hey, computers try to help, but they can't always help. Now we know why his relationships don't work out. Are you leveraging the database in robotics? Are you leveraging things like virtual, mixed reality, augmented reality? What's the next hype cycle say? What's coming? It's all about AI developer kits, augmented intelligence, responsible AI. We'll see when that happens. Artificial general intelligence, no working products yet as of 2020. Machine learning had not even hit 5% by 2020. I think it's past that now. Remember when Star Trek used to look so impressive? Now we're moving much faster, going into quantum computers and entanglement. All the things that were in Star Trek, they've really invented every single one of them in some way, shape, or form. I mean, look at that earpiece in Star Trek they used to use. But we're moving from using digital to wearing digital to implanting digital to eventually a neural link where it's in your mind. I mean, people already have connections to the brain that are working. We'll see what comes next. I also have future sentience issues. Sophia the robot, you know, she's a citizen of Saudi Arabia now, made her a citizen. They asked her some question, wants to get a degree, wants to have kids. What's alive? Sentience is when you look at a sunset and say, oh, that's beautiful. I feel something. Can a robot just fake that? We looked at a lot of things. Here I thought the problem was putting AI together with 23C and coming up with 23 AI and how to do that in an hour. And little did I know the problem was some other technical difficulties. So I apologize for that. But make sure you use some key features in previous versions and then start leveraging some of the new features. Hopefully you learn some things about vectorizing data and building vector embeddings and how it looks at the semantic content, not the pixels. Make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. I think Oracle's moving to Nashville because it's the medical hub of the world and Cerner, and I see a direction change a little bit where Oracle's going to become more of a medical company, and they're going to try out their products, and I think it's going to make their products even better, just to let you know. Oracle's hard to catch, especially on the database side. 98% of the people of the Fortune 500 still use Oracle. With AI, I think they have everything they need to win, and the stuff they built over time are not easy to find out. Join Orapub, see some presentations. Hopefully you could refer people to when I do a repeat of this. It'll be a much better recording than this one. Hopefully the recording stopped. And if you need the notes, you can have them there. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat as well. The only one I have is Coleman said, send me your questions. Any questions out there?
You've got a couple questions.
I'll
in
ask Monica if I'm
Q&A.
still on. Am I still here?
You are. See, I've got a question that says, is automatic
Cool.
indexing only
Anyone
available
out
on
there?
X
Send me a
data?
chat if you're out there. Let's see, everyone. Any questions?
Rich, can you hear me?
Am I still here? All right, I'll just leave it at that.
Rich,
Thanks for
can
coming.
you hear Monica, Rich?
And
Monica
I'll
was talking.
end that recording and have a great day. Oh, I see Q&A. Okay. Is there near zero downtime upgrade conversion from Oracle 19C to 23C? Container or a pluggable database? Yes, definitely near downtime upgrade. We do an upgrade almost every single day. So get some of our help. We can get, somebody that does that on a daily basis to help you with that. How to get free access to do research on 23 AI. Well, I'm going to go back to the slide. Let me just, if I could find it. Don't ever do this. Just say I'll send that to you. You could always text it to me too. My phone number was there. Let's see if I could. And almost there. There we go. So here's some ways you can access it. There's the Oracle free version you can go to, but I'm going to go to the previous slide. Let's see. Keep forgetting I'm not in PowerPoint. And there it is, oracle.com/cloud/free. You could get that now. 23 AI is there. So that should answer that for you. And there's the live labs as well. See if there's any other ones. Hopefully that answers your question, Sarosh and David. Any other questions? Just send them. Rich, you can't hear us, says Monica. Okay. I don't know why. I can't hear you, but you can hear me though, right, Monica?
For the
I hope.
books.
We'll leave it at that. All right. I see another question. Oh no, I take it back. No other questions that I see. So I'll pass it back to Monica, even though I can't hear her. Maybe she's been talking the whole time and saying, Rich, please be quiet. Thanks for coming and have a great day from my standpoint. And back to Monica.
Thank you, Rich, even though you can't hear me. Thanks everyone for hanging in for a very interesting webinar today. All the technical issues, but you know what? We're going to get what we can to you. And because this was such a popular webinar, we'll either have Rich back or we'll have someone else back to talk more about 23 AI. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the posting of the recording and the slide deck. We'll get all of that to you as soon as we can. And otherwise, we hope to see you back here for the next webinar with NYOUG and Viscosity. We'll see you guys soon, and I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Take care. Thank you, Coleman, so much.
And thanks for all the people that stayed.
Yes. Yes. Lots of folks stayed, which is amazing. So thank you,
Try to
guys.
get it better next time. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you,
right.
Coleman.
Bye now.
Bye.
Thank you, Monica.